Hello there, aspiring tennos. Don't act so surprised. You should have known this was coming next, alright? Now listen, you may be watching this for a multitude of reasons. You might want to know why I, a person who have wasted almost a decade of their life, why they have come to hate this game. You might be here simply to indulge in my suffering, and that's fine. Welcome. Now, for the most part, just let me say, first up, hate is a very strong word, and I don't hate all of these things. Most of them I just disdain. And you will probably also have noticed that a lot of the items on this list is recent in Warframe. You know, they didn't exist a year or two back. So do keep that in mind, and I'll explain why that is towards the end. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this list. Taking it off strong at number 11, we have shield gating. Now, I am almost 100% sure that this is a bad take, or at least a very controversial take. Now, for me, shield gating is not fun to play with. I don't enjoy the playstyle which it offers, but then again, I know some people does. Then again, I know some people doesn't. And for many Warframes, you pretty much have to use shield gating. You know, we have Atlas, Banshee, Caliban, Ember, Equinox, Excalibur, Frost, Garuda, Gauss, Grendel, Harrow, Hildren, Hydra. There's most of them. Most Warframes, at least on the Steel Path or in, long survivals and defenses, depend on this damn mechanic. There's just something so annoying about constantly having to manage your shield gating and something else, right? As long as we have shield gating and as long as it gives you complete invulnerability for however long, you're never going to use any sort of damage reduction, which would be damage mitigation. That becomes completely and entirely irrelevant at sort of high ends of play. And so where are you gonna go from here? In many cases, you could offer up items or abilities that gives 90% damage reduction, and it's like, why would I get 90% if I can get 100? So all mitigation pretty much forever, as long as shield gating is as easily accessible as it is, everything that is not 100% damage reduction just becomes kind of pointless. And so all you can do is give longer periods of invulnerability. For example, a Garuda with her augment, it gives her 8 seconds of invulnerability, whereas shield gating gives you 1.3. But because shield gating is very easy to access and the ward, the augment, is not, you would never use it. You just use regular shield gating on her, right? It's ridiculous. And it really, as far as I can see, it kills a lot of variety in the game. So probably very unpopular opinion, but I would like, for one, shield gating should probably just have some kind of cooldown between how often it can trigger. And then for God's sake, let's fix all of these Warframes that doesn't have any proper defense abilities. Okay, next. Number 10 is AOE Weapons. We see here my Kuva Brahma. I really like this weapon. I think I use the Kuva Brahma more than I use the rest of the weapons combined. Now, let me just say, alright, that I do actually like using the Kuva Brahma, but I am also to the point now where I'm a little bit fed up with it. And so the way that, in my opinion, the way that explosive weapons should be balanced is that they should never do as much damage as single target weapons. However, in some cases, in very many cases, the Kuva Brahma deals more single target damage than single target weapons in this game. And as all weapons continue to become more powerful, the single target weapons will slowly continue to be pushed out. Because yes, sure, I have a weapon that, the toughest enemy in the game, I can deal 100 times more damage than it takes to kill them. That doesn't mean anything if I can still kill them with the Kuva Brahma and 10 other enemies at the same time. I know the community treats the word nerf like the devil himself. However, these weapons need a nerf. Pretty much like all of the major AOE weapons, the Glaive Prime, the Kuva Prime, not the Kuva Prime, the Kuva Brahma, the Kuva Jakar, the Kuva Sar, the Tenet Envoy, all of them They need a nerf. Guys, look at me. They need a nerf. Then we have the helmet system. And hold on, don't leave yet, because I know what you're thinking at this point. Okay, Syntexagon, you just hate all mechanics in Warframe. No, that's not true. I actually really like the helmet system, and I don't have a problem with the helmet system itself. However, as you guys will probably know, it has pretty much been used as a klutz for the developers so that they don't actually have to look into the Warframes which desperately needs help. It's pretty much just become a case of, well, you can just slap breathe certs and brief respite, or the aura mod, on any Warframe. Then you can use their skin because it's gonna work as well as everything else. That is so bland and annoying. Also, one more thing. The invigoration system, that has to go. The added duration with null stars, in case you don't know, if you get additional duration and you build full duration plus null stars on a Warframe, then you will not be able to take damage at all. You will literally be invulnerable. So it's like, what Warframe is gonna be viable this week? It sucks. It really sucks. So yeah, either change this ability or get rid of this entire system, because right now it's just ridiculous. Then we have the other side of the community. And so there are two toxic side communities in my opinion in Warframe. One of them is all of trade chat. All of trade chat. Not all of trading, but all of trade chat and all that relates to this idea of basically trying to, cheat other people out of their hard-earned platinum. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. But you know what? Gone. I don't have to look at it anymore. And so because of this, it's not any higher up on the list. It's pretty easy to avoid. It does not permeate throughout the community. The other toxic side community is basically, we're talking Eidolon hunting, we're talking railtag, we're talking something like coup villages. Someone kills the coup village before the thralls can spawn, for example. And they just go crazy on this person. These like meta beasts who cannot accept that other people want to enjoy the game in a way that is not the meta. That's very toxic. And it's quite frankly just annoying. If you're one of these people, stop it. What you do, that's up to you. I personally like to follow the meta, but I don't try and force it upon people most of the time. And I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan. But then again, luckily, it's not something that really identifies too much with Warframe. The other part of the community shines through. And so because of that, I don't think it deserves that high of a spot anyways. Then we have number 8. And yes, I know that I've forgotten to mention the numbers all the other time. I don't care. So we have the Augment mods here. And, I think what they're supposed to be is a slightly stronger side grade that you have to sacrifice a mod slot on. That's not what's happening here. We have stuff like Accumulating Whipclaw, which is just an extremely powerful augment granted to a really overpowered Warframe for no reason. And then we have a lot of augments which is just, patchwork. It's basically there to fix abilities which otherwise doesn't have any use. Greedy Pull, for example, right? Muscle Flash. What else do we have? Razor Wing Blitz and stuff like that. These augments, which doesn't really... there's one more actually, hold on. Yeah, this one as well. It takes a completely useful ability and then gives it some purpose. In my opinion, this should not be an augment, this should just be baked into the ability. One of the very few mods that actually does this would be something like this one or this one. These are proper side grades that to some extent changes the playstyle of the Warframe. It's not meant to fix a otherwise useless ability, and it isn't entirely overpowered either. But most of these are just fixes to bad abilities on bad Warframes that should be baked into their kit. Usually what it is a not strong enough buff on a generally speaking, weak Warframe that then has to sacrifice an additional mod slot just to be able to receive the buff that he should have had in the first place, and which isn't even enough. Really bad. I hate the way that they're using these. God damn it. Then this one might be just a pet peeve of mine, but from this point onward, it's no longer disdain, it's absolute hate. And I really hate this, and I don't know why it works this way. But let's say that you are in a mission and you decided, okay, I was just here to test something. I am now done testing it. Let me open up the menu and then leave. And then you get downed by some enemies. You fall on the ground and the menu closes. And now I have to open the menu back up in order to exit. Okay, so here's the thing. This is how it should work. If the menu is open and I hit escape, the menu should close. If the menu is open and I do not hit escape, the menu should not close. It is that simple. And the worst one of these, this is the one that really just drives me up the wall, is when, okay, so when doing relics, let's say that I'm selecting a relic for mission here. We're 6 people in a group. One of them is my friend. I can't kick the other guys. I have to leave and then invite him back in order to get out of that party. So I just start selecting my next relic while they're still in the group. And just before I can click OK to select this relic, one of them leaves. The screen closes completely, right? So now I have to do it all over again. I have to click on the mission I want to do. Then I have to select the relic. And the other guy doesn't see this, so he's like, okay, he's not gonna pick anything. So just before I can select this one, he leaves as well, and now I have to do it all over a third time. This happens almost every single last time I'm trying to do relics with one of my friends, and so I have to select the relic 3 times, at least 2 times, every time. It's ridiculous. And also something else is that if I'm in my mod bends down here, like unrelated to the mission screen, if I'm in here just counting through my relics, okay, I have so many Zephyr, I have so many of that, and then someone all of a sudden leaves the party, this menu closes. Why does it close? I don't understand. We've had this problem for years. Please fix this. Like, please, just fix this. Number 6 is the current meta, and I'm talking about the totality of the current meta. The spot that we're in right now, especially with the helmet system and the weapon arcanes and all of that good stuff, what has happened is that basically, if you're going to do a survival, especially, but also I guess a defenses or disruption, basically what you're going to do is that you're going to come in here and you're going to pick your favorite impervious to damage setup. There are quite a few ways in which you can be completely unable to take any damage in this game right now. And then you either equip your Kuva Brahma or your Glaive Prime. And then you just shoot/throw your weapon. And that is it. Everything that is not that is either a gimmick or a samey but less powerful version of the same. And that's ridiculous. Do you want to be invincible? Do you want to redirect all projectiles? Do you want to literally just not take damage at all throughout the entire game? Well, pick your poison and then go out there and do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It has been watered down and neutered so much at this current state that it's just so boring. So at this point, you have to choose between playing a slightly different and interesting build or being powerful. And I don't think you should have to make that choice. Now, obviously, if you're playing a gimmicky build, they're never going to be as powerful as the meta, but the divide right now is so ginormous because, AOE weapons are so overpowered, and obviously always going to be quite a big divide between having some amount of defense that can keep you alive and then not taking damage at all. That difference is always going to be ginormous. So, at this point, I don't even know what to do about it, but something needs to happen. This next one probably affects me personally. Number 5 is the growing divide between new players and veteran players. It's gotten to the point now where I almost have to sort of be careful about using the word veteran, because it's such the topic is so explosive at this point. It feels like it could blow up at any minute. I don't like this state where it's basically either you are mastery rank 31, I guess legendary 1, or else you're just a scrub, right? I think this fucking opinion is so toxic, and the people who sort of peddles this idea, some YouTubers like, you don't even have Excalibur Prime, you must be a scrub and an idiot, and your opinion don't matter. That's not true. The experience of all players matters, and I don't like the stance that some of the like high profile persons in this community has taken, especially some of the YouTubers. I don't feel like stirring up even more drama, but at the same time, my God, why? I want to go back in time, just 2 years, and then let's start over and do better this time. Anyways, number 4 is the way that DE is releasing new Warframes. Now, this is something which they have sort of admitted to, not really admitted to in the past, but they have this philosophy or whatever on releasing new Warframes where they would rather release them underpowered than overpowered. That's fine-ish. Like, I've seen that in other games as well. The problem is that DE isn't exactly on the ball when it comes to then giving those Warframes those much needed buffs. Usually what happens, and this is kind of what has happened with Aurelia as well, is that she comes out really, really, really underpowered. She gets her first round of buffs, which were, just completely insane. In terms of like how much more powerful they made her. They like almost tripled her power level in many ways, both in terms of damage ability and CC, as well as efficiency in terms of, energy. It was some crazy strong buffs. But before she got those buffs, so like the first day she was out or so, I would say that she was the weakest Warframe in the game. And with a lot of Warframes that was decently powerful when they came out, but which has since been power crept by Warframes that does basically the same but better, it's incredible that a Warframe can come out in the current meta and then be the weakest Warframe. A Warframe like Aurelia just doesn't offer anything, and it happens way too often that they come out super weak. She gets this buff, and this puts her above some of the like weakest Warframes. I'm talking like Inaris and stuff. It doesn't help her much. She's still on like the weaker side. Then what happens is that she gets even more buffs, and she's still too weak. Like, she's still too weak. Then instead of buffing her, what they do is that they give her an augment to try and allow her to actually deal some damage with her second ability. And it turns out that this augment is better on pretty much every other Warframe than Aurelia. And we're probably not going to see another buff on her for half a year or an entire year, or maybe ever. She'll maybe never ever be viable because they have this idea of releasing them weak and then buffing them later because, it's easier to take, you can't really take buffs back. Like, it's easier to buff than it is to nerf, but then buff her, right? They don't do it. It's so annoying. So now we just have this useless Warframe, and we don't get new Warframes that often. So when one of them is this terrible, it just feels like an eternity between Warframes that are actually interesting to like play around with and actually, test and have fun with. So, why am I even begging? It's fucking pointless. No one's listening. Number 3 on my list is literally just the grind. Now, I actually don't mind grinding for stuff. That is half of the experience. If the gameplay loop is good, it is nice to have something to work towards. I don't mind that. Now, what I do mind is some of the ridiculous, outrageous stuff that we had to deal with in the past. And once in a while, one of these absurdly terrible things where it's impossible to farm is released. Let me give you some examples. Oxium, for example. Oxium drones used to drop 1 Oxium. Nitron Extract. Nitron Extract used to sometimes drop from Sabotage mission if you found all 3 hidden caches. Sometimes. I think it was like a 12% chance of it actually dropping after finding all 3 caches. Otherwise, you'd have to get one of them from completing a mission that would spawn randomly, and it wasn't even guaranteed that I would spawn 1 a day. And for some Warframes, you need as much as 15 or 20 of that. That's insane. Certus wisps before they were added to bounty rewards. Okay, so you wanna get your hands on Gara, right? Great. You're gonna need some Certus wisps. How are you gonna get your hands on those wisps? Well, what you're gonna have to do is that you're gonna have to wait for it to get night, or rather to be night on the plains of Eidolon. Then, which happens by the way, 1 hour every 3 or so hours. Then you have to run around, eat of the damn puddles. I mean, I guess you can do this in the daytime as well, but with a lower spawn rate. But you have to run around, eat of the different puddles and water areas, and look for these really hard to see Certus wisps. And you have to do that with all of the bodies of water on the plains of Eidolon. Then once you're done with that task, then you go back into Cetus, and then you repeat until you have enough wisps. Have fun doing that for the next 6 hours. Yeah, seriously. Some of this stuff is just not okay. It's ridiculous. I get that some people will just grind out stuff immediately and then complain that there is nothing to do, but you must agree that those examples which I've just given you is completely outrageous. Number 2, Kirik. Kirik in particular. Fuck you, dude. It's digital extremes. My number 1 by such a mile is digital extremes. I love Warframe, but goddammit, I've come to hate this company throughout the years. Just the kind of shit that they've... Goddammit. Okay, you need some examples, right? So, Regal Aya. Actually, I'm not going to give you multiple examples. I promise you there's a lot. Okay, Prime Accessories. Go research it yourself. Let me talk specifically to you about Regal Aya. For those of you who have already forgotten, because the little bit of respect and trust I still had in the company itself was eroded away throughout this event. So basically, right, they releases Regal Aya, people are dissatisfied. Now, if they've said, we could change it, but we're not going to. If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it. I could respect that. Because it's their company, it's their game, it's their right to say we're gonna sell, items at whatever price we want to sell them at, and it's people's prerogative if they want to buy it or if they don't want to buy it. That's not what happened, right? Basically, what they said was that throughout a month and a half that this event is gonna run, it's gonna be completely, utterly, and totally impossible for us to change the way that it works. We simply cannot add platinum to this bundle, which is a bunch of nonsense, because let's be honest, if they had accidentally added twice as much, they would definitely have been able to remove it instantaneously. So we have this back and forth where everyone is basically screaming at DE because this is ridiculous, right? No one likes being lied to. Obviously, people were dissatisfied with the price as well, but mainly it was the dishonesty. And DE releases multiple statements where they're like, oh, we're sorry, guys. We would change it if we could. Eventually, the backlash gets so bad, however, that they just add it, as they were obviously always capable of doing. And then they have the audacity to basically, instead of saying, okay, you know what, you were right, we fucked up, let's try and move past this. I'm not saying give us free items or whatever, because that's just a token gesture anyways. But you can start by apologizing and then saying, you know what, in the future, we're going to be more honest, and then actually be more honest. But no, not even that, not even an empty promise. They had the audacity to basically attack the community, and it's like, oh, it wasn't because of the toxic people. It was just because of our engineers made a miracle happen or something. We're so mad at you because you are angry because we're obviously lying to you. And that's such a hard line to pass. It's like, oh, we're gonna allow you to use Necromex on throughout the Railjack reward. We're gonna allow you to use Necromex in the game, just in general. And then, when it actually comes out, nope, it was just on the damn Railjack missions. And listen, there's been so much of that. Railjack was released in such a broken state, just so that they could win their damn reward. They ruined the experience for every single last player so that they could win their damn reward. This empty statue, this piece of paper that they got, this reward, was more important to them than their player base. And it really shows. They have really become this heartless corporation, right? And they have this prime time where they sit down and they make, they will say whatever they think they have to say in order to keep up the player numbers and in order to sell as much stuff as possible. And really, it doesn't even feel like they're playing their own game, with some very notable exceptions. You can look at the Nesha or the Wukong rework for that. But for the most part, it doesn't feel like they're playing the game at all. And I think that is so unforgivable. I have about zero respect for Digital Extremes, and I'm probably burning any Brits that I could have had for a partnership with DE as a partnered YouTuber in the future. But quite frankly, I don't want to work with these people anyways, so that's probably fine. Anyways, this has been me rating for however long this video is going to be, and I'll see you in the next one. Stoop! Hold on! Oh, that's so bad. Never mind that. Anyways, listen up guys. Believe it or not, in spite of all the things that I've talked about just now, I don't actually hate Warframe. The good things does outweigh the bad things, if only slightly. I mean, obviously, come on, I'm Legendary 1. Obviously. Something else is that yes, I am experiencing some amount of Warframe fatigue. If there's something worth covering, I'll probably do so. But otherwise, I'm going to take a little bit of a Warframe break. And, also, when this video comes out, when you're watching this, I will be live here on YouTube, but I won't be playing Warframe. We'll try something else. If something worth covering comes out, or if I feel a sudden urge to try out a build, I will probably make a video. However, don't expect there to be videos between now and the time when the Angels of Saruman comes out. But then I will be back, and probably we will be exploring all of the new stuff that we're gonna get. So it's not like I'm quitting the channel. I'm just taking a small break from Warframe specifically. Anyways, thank you so much for watching all the way through this almost half an hour long video. I'll see you in the next one.